Admiral George Harrison stood at the large window of Earth Space Command headquarters, looking out at the peaceful blue planet below. His gray hair was neatly cut, his uniform crisp and decorated with medals from 30 years of service. Today was supposed to be like any other day. It wasn't. "Admiral, we have unknown objects approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit," said Commander Lisa Wright, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. Harrison turned from the window. Commander Wright was the youngest officer ever to lead Earth's orbital defense platform Sierra. Her quick thinking had saved lives during the asteroid mining accident last year. Now her dark eyes were fixed on the screen, her hands moving quickly over the control panel. "How many?" Harrison asked, walking to the main display. "At least 50 large vessels, sir. They're not responding to any communication attempts." The room fell silent. Humanity had known about other intelligent life in the galaxy for only 8 years. Contact had been limited but peaceful. Trade agreements were still being worked out. No species had ever sent a fleet this size. "Get me General Martinez at Mars Colony," Harrison ordered, "and alert all Earth defense stations." Before anyone could act, the alarm systems blared to life. "Missiles launched from the alien fleet," Commander Wright shouted. "They're targeting Mars Colony and the Jupiter stations." Harrison watched in horror as the first impacts appeared on the screen. Bright flashes of light where thousands of people had been living only moments before. Mars Colony, humanity's first true foothold beyond Earth, vanished in seconds. "Get our ships moving. All personnel to battle stations." Harrison's voice boomed across the command center. "And keep trying to make contact." Across Earth, people looked up at the sky in confusion as emergency alerts sounded on their devices. News stations cut to live feeds from space telescopes showing the distant flashes around Mars and Jupiter. Panic spread quickly. In Colorado, Dr. Paul Carter felt the ground shake as the underground military facility went into lockdown. Red lights flashed in the hallways as he ran to his laboratory. Armed guards rushed past him, heading to their posts. "Dr. Carter." A young assistant caught up with him. "What's happening?" "We're under attack," Carter said simply, using his keycard to open the reinforced door to his lab. Inside, large machines hummed with power. Years of theoretical work on quantum physics had led to this prototype, a device that could potentially alter the very fabric of space. It wasn't ready, but now they might not have a choice. At a military base in Nevada, veteran soldier Frank Murphy watched the recruits scramble as the alarm sounded. His scarred face showed no emotion, but his mind raced. He had fought in wars on Earth, but never imagined he would see a war from the stars. "Sergeant Murphy!" The base commander approached him. "We're activating the Phoenix Protocol. I need your team ready to move in 30 minutes. Murphy nodded. "Any idea who's attacking us, sir?" "Early reports suggest it's the Vraxians. We've had limited contact with them before. They seemed peaceful." "Enough. Everybody seems peaceful until they don't," Murphy said, checking his weapon. "My team will be ready." In orbit, the first wave of Earth's defense ships moved to intercept the incoming alien fleet. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Captain Olivia Peters commanded the EDS Valiant, the newest ship in Earth's small fleet. "All weapon systems online," her weapons officer reported. "But sir, these readings, their shields are like nothing we've seen before." Peters gripped the arms of her command chair. "Focus fire on the lead vessels. Let's see what they can take." The space battle was brief and devastating. Earth's ships fought bravely, but they were like children throwing rocks at tanks. The Vraxian vessels absorbed tremendous damage before showing any signs of weakness. Captain Peters watched as sister ships exploded around her. "Retreat to Earth defense perimeter," she ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos. "We need to regroup." As the surviving Earth ships pulled back, the alien fleet continued its advance. They destroyed the lunar mining facilities next, then turned their attention to the orbital stations around Earth itself. Commander Wright coordinated the desperate defense from Platform Sierra. "Concentrate fire on the vessel at coordinates 227. By 84, she ordered. Our last attack showed a slight vulnerability in their rear shields. For a moment, it seemed to work. One of the smaller alien ships faltered under the combined fire from 3 defense platforms. "Keep on that target," Wright shouted. The victory was short-lived. 6 more Vraxian ships moved into position and launched a devastating counterattack. Platform Sierra shuddered as impacts rattled the structure. "We've lost platforms Tango and Whiskey," an officer reported, voice shaking. "Sierra's shields are at 30%. On Earth, Admiral Harrison received the reports with growing dread. Billions of people depended on their defense forces, and those forces were being systematically destroyed. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from one of the alien vessels." The main screen flickered, revealing a creature with gray-blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its voice translated through the computer system, metallic and cold. "Humans of Earth, you have been judged as a destabilizing influence on galactic harmony. Your rapid technological advancement and unpredictable nature have been deemed a threat by the Galactic Conclave. This cleansing action has been authorized under Protocol 7 of the Stability Doctrine. Resistance is considered confirmation of your dangerous nature." Harrison stepped forward. "We have made no aggressive moves against any species. We demand you cease your attack immediately." The alien seemed unmoved. "Your development trajectory indicates a 93% probability of conflict within the next 50 Earth years. Preemptive action has been determined as the optimal solution." The transmission ended abruptly. In the days that followed, humanity fought with everything they had. Cities were targeted and destroyed. The death toll climbed into the billions. Yet pockets of resistance formed quickly, coordinated by what remained of Earth's military command. Dr. Carter worked tirelessly in his underground lab, pushing his quantum displacement theory to its limits. "If we can create a field large enough," he explained to a group of haggard military officials, "we might be able to push their ships out of phase with our reality." Admiral Harrison, operating from a mobile command center hidden in the Rocky Mountains, gathered what information he could. Reports came in from around the world. The aliens were establishing ground bases, but they seemed especially interested in areas with advanced research facilities. Frank Murphy led guerrilla attacks against a Vraxian ground force in what used to be downtown Seattle. His team, a mix of military personnel and civilian volunteers, had managed to capture alien weapons and even a small scout ship. "Their foot soldiers can be killed," he reported back to command. "But we need heavier weapons if we're going to make any real difference." Captain Peters, whose ship was one of only 3 Earth vessels still functional, had retreated to a hidden base in the asteroid belt. From there, she launched hit-and-run attacks on Vraxian supply ships. As the first month of the war came to an end, humanity was on the brink of extinction. But they weren't defeated yet. In labs and bunkers and hidden bases across the solar system, they prepared to fight back. The Vraxians and their galactic conclave had made a serious mistake. They had attacked humanity without giving it a chance to surrender, and now they would learn why that was a fatal error. 6 months passed since the Vraxians first attacked Earth. What remained of humanity lived in hiding. The aliens controlled most of the planet's surface. Their ships patrolled the skies, and their ground forces hunted for survivors in the ruins of once great cities. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Major Susan Kelly walked through an underground facility carved into the rock. The air smelled of machine oil and sweat. People worked at stations filled with computers and strange equipment. Some parts had been salvaged from destroyed research centers. Others were built from whatever materials they could find. Major Kelly stopped at a large metal door guarded by 2 soldiers with plasma rifles captured from Vraxian troops. They nodded and opened the door for her. Inside, Dr. Paul Carter hunched over a workbench covered with tools and glowing components. His beard had grown long, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. The Quantum Displacement Array, or QDA as everyone called it, took shape before him. "How close are we?" Kelly asked, her voice echoing in the large room. Dr. Carter looked up. "The power system is working. We can create a small field, but nothing big enough to affect a Vraxian ship. We need more specialized materials." Kelly nodded. Admiral Harrison is working on that. He's planning something big. Hundreds of miles away, in what was left of the North American Space Command, Admiral George Harrison studied a holographic map showing Vraxian positions across the solar system. Commander Lisa Wright stood beside him. She had escaped when Platform Sierra was destroyed and now served as Harrison's second-in-command. Their supply lines stretch from Earth to Jupiter, Harrison said, pointing to red lines on the map. If we hit these points with everything we have left, we might buy enough time for Dr. Carter to finish the QDA. Commander Wright frowned. Sir, we have 5 ships left, maybe 20 fighter craft. It would be a suicide mission. I know, Harrison said quietly. But if we do nothing, we all die anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. He turned to a communications officer. Send the order. All remaining ships are to rendezvous at these coordinates in 72 hours. In a hidden workshop beneath the ruins of Chicago, engineer Alan Russell worked with a team of scientists. They had captured a damaged Vraxian scout ship during a ground battle. For weeks, they had been taking it apart, learning its secrets. Look at this, Alan said, pointing to a device connected to the ship's shield generator. Their shields operate on a modulating frequency, but there's a pattern to it. Dr. Lynn Farrow, a physicist who had taught at MIT before the invasion, studied the readings on their makeshift equipment. If we could match that frequency but slightly out of phase, we could cause a resonance collapse, Alan finished her thought. Their shields would fail completely. The team worked through the night, testing their theory on the captured shield components. By morning, they had created a small device that could disrupt Vraxian shields at close range. Alan sent an encrypted message to Admiral Harrison. We have a way through their shields. Limited range, but it works. On the hidden lunar base called Nightshade, Commander Wright coordinated the Resistance's communication network. The base had been a secret mining operation before the invasion. Now it served as a crucial relay point for messages between scattered human forces. We've made contact with the Europa settlement, a communications specialist reported. They've managed to hide from the Vraxians so far. They have about 3,000 survivors. Wright nodded. Send them the encrypted blueprints for the shield, disruptors, and tell them to prepare evacuation protocols. If our plan works, the Vraxians will search the outer system more thoroughly. She turned to her personal communication terminal and recorded a message for Admiral Harrison. The pieces are in place, sir. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Back in the Appalachian facility, Major Kelly inspected the defenses. They had motion sensors spread through the forest above, early warning systems that would alert them if Vraxian patrols approached. The entrance was disguised as a rockfall, and they had set traps along all possible approach routes. A young soldier approached her. Major, we've spotted increased Vraxian activity 20 miles north. 3 scout ships and about 30 ground troops. Kelly felt a chill run down her spine. They're searching this area. Alert all personnel. We may need to evacuate. She rushed to Dr. Carter's lab. How much longer do you need? At least 48 hours to finish assembly, he replied, not looking up from his work. Then we need to test it. We might not have that much time, Kelly said. The Vraxians are getting close. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Harrison's flagship, the UES Defender, prepared for battle. It was an old vessel built before the invasion as a research ship and hastily converted for war. The crew worked in silence, each person knowing this might be their final mission. Harrison addressed them over the intercom. Today we strike back. Not because we expect to win this battle, but because others need time to win the war. Every Vraxian ship we destroy, every supply line we disrupt, brings us one step closer to survival. The small human fleet moved out from its hiding place behind Earth's moon. 5 ships against an armada of hundreds. But they had surprise on their side, and the new shield disruptor technology. Target their supply vessels first, Harrison ordered. Then their communication relays. The battle began with a swift, coordinated attack. The human ships appeared suddenly, fired their weapons at point-blank range, and vanished again, using Earth's magnetic field to mask their movements. Taken by surprise, several Vraxian ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Others turned to pursue, but the human vessels were already gone, attacking new targets elsewhere. On the Defender's bridge, Admiral Harrison allowed himself a small smile. The shield disruptors work. Send word to all ships. Keep moving. Keep hitting different targets. The Vraxians responded by pulling ships from their blockade positions, creating a gap in their defensive line, exactly as Harrison had planned. In that brief window, a small stealth vessel slipped away from Earth. On board were Commander Wright and Engineer Alan Russell, carrying the completed plans for both the QDA and the shield disruptors. Their destination? The hidden human settlement on Europa. But the battle was far from over. The Vraxians, realizing they had been tricked, launched a massive ground assault on suspected human bases. One of their targets, the Appalachian facility. Major Kelly watched on security monitors as Vraxian dropships landed in the forest above. "They found us," she said, turning to her officers. "Initiate Defense Protocol Echo. We need to buy Dr. Carter as much time as possible." As Vraxian troops began to descend toward the hidden entrance, the first human defense line opened fire. The battle for Earth's last hope had begun. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the Appalachian facility. Major Susan Kelly crouched behind a barricade, directing her soldiers as they fought to hold back the Vraxian troops. The aliens pushed forward relentlessly, their tall, gray-blue bodies protected by personal shield generators. "Fall back to position 3, Kelly shouted over the noise. Her people moved in practiced formation, maintaining a steady rate of fire as they retreated deeper into the facility. One of her lieutenants slid into position beside her. "Major, we can't hold them much longer, there are too many." Kelly nodded grimly. "We just need to buy Dr. Carter enough time. How's the evacuation going?" "The last transport left 5 minutes ago. Only the defense team and Dr. Carter's group remain." 3 levels below, Dr. Paul Carter worked frantically to complete the quantum displacement array. The device hummed with power, glowing components spinning inside a clear chamber. 2 other scientists helped him make final adjustments, while armed guards watched the entrances to the lab. "Power levels stable," one scientist reported. "Field containment at 87%. Carter wiped sweat from his forehead. "It's not perfect, but it will have to do. Begin the activation sequence." The sounds of fighting grew louder. The Vraxians were getting closer. In space, the battle continued. Admiral George Harrison's fleet had struck hard and fast, destroying dozens of Vraxian ships before they could respond effectively. But now the aliens had regrouped, and Earth's small fleet was taking heavy damage. On the bridge of the UES Defender, Harrison watched as one of his ships exploded under enemy fire. "Continue evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Keep their attention focused on us." His communications officer looked up from her station. "Sir, we've received confirmation. The stealth vessel has cleared the blockade. Commander Wright and Russell are safely away." Harrison allowed himself a moment of relief. At least part of their plan had succeeded. The knowledge they'd gained would survive even if they didn't. "Sir," the tactical officer called out. 3 Vraxian capital ships approaching from Sector 7. Harrison straightened in his chair. "Set collision course for the lead ship. All weapons fire on their engines as we approach." The crew looked at him in shock, but no one questioned the order. They understood what needed to be done. The UES Defender turned and accelerated toward the massive alien vessel, weapons firing continuously. The Vraxian ship tried to evade, but Harrison had anticipated its movement. The human vessel slammed into the alien's engine section, both ships erupting in a blinding explosion that damaged the nearby Vraxian vessels. In the darkness of space, a small stealth ship moved silently away from Earth, its systems running at minimum power to avoid detection. Inside, Commander Lisa Wright plotted their course to Jupiter's moon Europa. "How long will it take us to reach Europa?" Engineer Alan Russell asked, securing the data drives containing the vital plans. 5 days if we maintain stealth protocols," Wright replied. 3 if we're willing to risk being detected. "The longer we're out here, the greater the chance they find us," Russell pointed out. Wright considered this. We'll compromise. Minimal power increases at irregular intervals. That should get us there in 4 days without creating an obvious pattern for their sensors to detect. Russell nodded and looked back at the viewing screen, where Earth was now just a small blue dot. Do you think they'll succeed? The team at the Appalachian facility? Wright's face remained neutral, but her eyes betrayed her concern. We have to believe they will. Back at the facility, Major Kelly and her remaining troops had been pushed back to the final defensive position outside Dr. Carter's lab. Only 12 soldiers remained from her original force of 50. Status report on the QDA. She spoke into her communicator. Dr. Carter's voice came back, tense but controlled. Activation sequence at 60%. We need 7 more minutes. Kelly looked at her team. You heard the man. We need to hold for 7 minutes. A soldier named Rodriguez checked his weapon. We can do that, Major. The Vraxians attacked in force, using portable shield generators to protect their advance. Kelly's team fired precisely, aiming for gaps in the shields and vulnerable joints in the aliens' armor. 3 Vraxians fell, then 5 more. But they kept coming. 4 minutes, Dr. Carter's voice updated over the comm. Kelly felt something hot strike her shoulder, a grazing hit from a Vraxian weapon. She ignored the pain and continued firing. 2 minutes. Only 5 defenders remained now, and the Vraxians were less than 30 feet away. Activation complete. The field is stabilizing. A strange humming filled the air, growing louder by the second. The Vraxians hesitated, their 4 eyes blinking rapidly as if sensing danger. Fall back to the lab now, Kelly ordered her remaining team. They retreated through the heavy doors of the laboratory as the Vraxians surged forward. Dr. Carter stood by the QDA, his hand hovering over the final control. I don't know exactly what this will do, he admitted as Kelly sealed the lab doors. The theory suggests it will create a displacement field, pushing matter out of alignment with our spacetime. Kelly nodded. Better than being captured. Do it. Carter pressed the control. The humming became a high-pitched whine, and the spinning components within the device moved faster, blurring into a solid-looking sphere of light. The lab doors buckled as the Vraxians tried to force them open. Brace yourselves, Carter warned. The light from the QDA expanded suddenly, filling the room, then passing through walls as if they weren't there. Kelly felt a strange sensation, like being pulled in all directions at once while also remaining perfectly still. Then silence. Outside the facility, Vraxian commanders watched in confusion as their ground forces stopped reporting. Scans showed a strange distortion covering a 50-mile radius around the human base. Nothing moved within that area. Time itself seemed to have stopped. Far from Earth, the stealth ship carrying Commander Wright and Engineer Russell approached, Europa. The moon's icy surface reflected the distant sunlight as they carefully maneuvered toward a hidden human settlement on the far side. They were met by a small group of armed guards who escorted them to an underground complex carved into the ice. There they were brought before Gregory Walsh, the former United Nations Secretary General, who had escaped Earth during the initial days of the invasion. Walsh was older now, his face lined with worry, but his eyes still showed the same determination that had made him a respected leader on Earth. Commander Wright, Engineer Russell, he greeted them. Your arrival is most welcome. We feared all was lost when we lost contact with Admiral Harrison's fleet. Wright stepped forward. Sir, we've brought critical data, plans for technology that might give us a fighting chance. Walsh nodded. Good. But I have something to show you as well. Something that may explain why we were attacked in the first place. He led them deeper into the complex, to a secure room containing alien artifacts and data screens. These were smuggled to us by a species called the Narani. They're members of the Galactic Conclave, but they don't agree with the decision to attack Earth. Russell examined one of the screens, showing star maps and historical data. What is all this? History, Walsh said gravely. Earth wasn't the first world targeted by the Conclave. Over thousands of years, they've systematically eliminated dozens of species they deemed threats to galactic stability. Any civilization that advances too quickly is seen as dangerous. Wright felt cold despite the room's warmth. So we were just the latest in a long line of victims. Yes, Walsh confirmed. But according to the Narani, we're the first to put up such effective resistance. And now, with what you've brought us, we might be the first to survive. 3 years passed since the Vraxian invasion began. Humanity had changed from a spacefaring civilization to a species fighting for survival. Small bases hidden throughout the solar system kept the resistance alive. Earth remained largely under Vraxian control, though the strange time anomaly around the Appalachian facility confused the aliens. They established a wide quarantine zone around it, unable to understand or break through the frozen time field. On Europa, the hidden human settlement had grown into the headquarters of the resistance. Commander Lisa Wright, now promoted to admiral, stood before a holographic map showing Vraxian fleet movements. The room was carved from ice but kept warm by recycled heat from the settlement's power systems. Their patrols have become predictable, Wright said to the gathered resistance leaders. They follow the same routes, check the same locations, they think they've won, and that makes them careless. Gregory Walsh, his hair now completely white, nodded in agreement. Our stealth technology has advanced significantly. Thanks to Engineer Russell's adaptations of the Vraxian systems, our ships can move undetected through most of their territory. Alan Russell had spent the past 3 years studying both the Vraxian technology and the quantum displacement theory. He had combined elements of both to develop stealth systems more advanced than anything Earth had before the invasion. We're ready for the mission to the precursor cache, Captain Olivia Peters said. She had survived the destruction of Earth's fleet by hiding her damaged ship in the rings of Saturn. After repairs, she'd managed to reach Europa, bringing valuable combat experience and tactical knowledge. The precursor cache was a legendary repository of ancient technology, located in an abandoned star system near the galactic core. The data smuggled by the Narani allies suggested it might contain weapons or technology that could help humanity fight back against the Conclave. The mission leaves tomorrow, Walsh confirmed. Captain Peters will command with Russell as chief engineer. Dr. Natalie Price will join as our xenobiologist. Dr. Price was a quiet woman who had studied alien biology before the invasion. She had developed a theory that the precursors, the mysterious builders of the cache, might have been related to humans genetically. The journey will take 3 months each way, Peters said. We'll be out of communication range for most of that time. Wright approached Peters after the meeting ended. This mission could change everything, Olivia. But it's also incredibly dangerous. Peters smiled slightly. After what we've been through, dangerous has lost some of its meaning. Just come back, Wright said. We need all the experienced officers we can get. The next morning, Captain Peters' ship, the Shadow, departed from Europa. It was small by military standards, built from salvaged parts and reverse-engineered Vraxian technology. Its most important feature was the modified quantum displacement generator that bent light around the hull, making it nearly invisible to sensors. On board, Alan Russell ran final checks on the ship's systems. Stealth field, stable, power consumption within acceptable parameters. Dr. Price reviewed the data about the precursor cache for the 10th time. If the Narani information is correct, the cache was sealed approximately 50,000 years ago. We don't know what kind of security systems might still be active. Peters nodded. We'll approach with caution. Our priority is to get in, find anything useful, and get out without alerting the Conclave. As the Shadow left the Jupiter system, another development was unfolding at the edge of the solar system. A small fleet of human ships emerged from hiding in the Kuiper Belt. They had been there since the initial invasion, gathering resources and building their strength in secret. Admiral George Harrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship. He had survived the destruction of the Defender by using an escape pod in the final moments before impact. Badly injured, he had been recovered by a mining ship fleeing to the outer system. Set course for Jupiter, he ordered. It's time to rejoin the fight. His second-in-command, a young officer named William Kane, looked surprised. Sir, we've received No communications from inner system resistance cells. Harrison smiled. That's because they think I'm dead, Captain. Let's go give them some good news. Back on Europa, Admiral Wright received a strange report from their monitoring stations. The time anomaly around the Appalachian facility is showing fluctuations, a technician explained. Something's changing inside the field. Walsh looked concerned. Is it collapsing? No, sir, it's more like pulses, as if something inside is trying to communicate. Wright immediately ordered a stealth drone to be sent to observe the anomaly from a safe distance. The drone's images showed the frozen tableau of the battle, Vraxian troops caught in mid-motion outside the facility entrance. But something was different. Small ripples appeared in the field at regular intervals, like a heartbeat. Can we send a message into the field? Wright asked. The technical team tried various methods, but nothing seemed to penetrate the time distortion. Then an officer suggested using a modified version of the precursor communication technology they had adapted. From the Narani data, it worked. A simple signal sent through the modified transmitter received a response. A series of mathematical equations that the computers eventually translated into English words. Carter still alive. Kelly too. QDA stable but evolving. Send extraction. Data. Wright couldn't believe it. After 3 years frozen in time, Dr. Carter and Major Kelly were somehow still conscious and communicating. The implications were staggering. Meanwhile, Captain Peters's ship approached the coordinates of the precursor cache. The star system was ancient, its planets long since cooled into frozen worlds, circling a dim, red dwarf star. Sensors detecting a structure on the third planet, Russell reported. It's massive, approximately 20 kilometers long and partially embedded in the planet's crust. Peters ordered the shadow into orbit around the planet. Any signs of active systems or defenses? Nothing obvious, Russell said. But there's a faint energy signature coming from inside the structure. Dr. Price studied the readings. The composition matches what we know of precursor technology. This is definitely the cache. Peters made her decision. Prepare a landing team. We'll approach on foot to minimize our energy signature. The surface of the planet was barren and cold, swept by methane winds. The landing team, wearing environmental suits, approached the enormous structure rising from the gray landscape. Its surface was smooth, made of a material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. There. Russell pointed to a section that looked slightly different. That might be an entrance. As they approached, the surface suddenly changed, becoming transparent. Beyond it was a vast chamber filled with unknown technology. A voice spoke. In their minds, somehow understandable despite its alien nature. Genetic pattern recognized. Access granted to human delegates. Dr. Price looked at the others, her eyes wide behind her helmet visor. I was right. The precursors were connected to humans somehow. The entrance opened, allowing them inside. The air was breathable, and the temperature comfortable for humans. The team cautiously removed their helmets. This technology is incredible, Russell whispered, looking at the machines around them. Some were recognizable as advanced versions of familiar devices. Others were completely alien. In the center of the chamber stood what appeared to be a communication system, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. This isn't a weapons cache, Peters realized. It's something much more valuable. Captain Olivia Peters and her team spent 2 weeks inside the precursor cache, learning about the advanced communication technology. It was unlike anything humans had imagined. The system could instantly send messages and even small objects across unlimited distances. It didn't use radio waves or light or any known method of transmission. Instead, it connected directly through the fabric of space itself. This changes everything, Engineer Alan Russell said as he studied the device. We can coordinate attacks across the entire solar system with no delay. The Vraxians won't be able to intercept or jam our signals. Dr. Natalie Price discovered something even more valuable in the precursor records. They were fighting the same enemy we are, she told Peters. The precursors were nearly wiped out by early versions of the Galactic Conclave 50,000 years ago. A small group escaped and left this technology for other species who might face the same threat. Peters nodded. Then let's make sure their sacrifice wasn't wasted. Pack up everything we can transport. We're heading back to Europa. The return journey was tense but uneventful. The Shadow's stealth systems kept them hidden from Vraxian patrols. When they finally reached Europa, they found the Resistance base buzzing with activity. Admiral Lisa Wright greeted them at the landing bay. Welcome back. You're just in time for the big push. Peters looked surprised. What big push? Come with me, Wright said, leading them to the command center. Inside, Gregory Walsh stood with a tall, scarred man Peters hadn't seen in years. Admiral Harrison, she gasped. You're alive. Harrison nodded. Reports of my death were useful for a time. I've spent the last 3 years building a fleet in the Kuiper Belt, and now we're ready to take back our solar system. Walsh explained the plan. We've made contact with Dr. Carter and Major Kelly inside the time anomaly. The QDA is evolving, becoming something they can control. When we give the signal, they'll release the field in a controlled way. Wright continued. Meanwhile, Admiral Harrison's fleet will engage the Vraxian forces in the outer system. We have ships hidden throughout the asteroid belt ready to strike, and resistance cells on Earth are prepared to launch coordinated attacks on key Vraxian installations. But we've been missing one crucial element, Walsh said. A way to coordinate everything perfectly until now. Peters smiled. Then you're going to like what we brought back. Within days, Russell and his team had connected the precursor communication device to the resistance network. They could now instantly communicate with every human ship and base in the solar system, with no chance of Vraxian interception. The day of the attack arrived. Admiral Harrison's fleet emerged from the outer system, weapons firing at Vraxian outposts around Neptune and Uranus. The aliens, caught by surprise, scrambled to respond. On Europa, Wright used the precursor device to send the signal to the Appalachian facility. Inside the time anomaly, Dr. Carter and Major Kelly received the message and began the process of collapsing the field. As Vraxian reinforcements rushed to counter Harrison's attack, hidden human ships in the asteroid belt launched their own assault, targeting supply lines and communication relays. Using Russell's shield frequency disruptors, they tore through Vraxian defenses with unexpected ease. On Earth, resistance fighters emerged from hiding, attacking Vraxian bases with stolen alien weapons and improvised explosives. Leading one of these attacks was Frank Murphy, the veteran soldier who had survived the initial invasion. His team targeted the Vraxian command center established in the ruins of Washington, D.C. Remember, Murphy told his fighters, we're not just fighting for revenge, we're fighting for tomorrow. The battle raged across the solar system. Vraxian commanders tried to coordinate their response, but with their communications disrupted and attacks coming from all directions, they fell into confusion. Then something unexpected happened at the Appalachian facility. As the time field collapsed, it released not just Dr. Carter and Major Kelly, but also the energy that had been building up for 3 years. The result was a massive pulse that spread outward, temporarily disabling all Vraxian technology within a 1,000-mile radius. Earth's resistance fighters seized the opportunity, capturing alien weapons and vehicles that could now be used against their former owners. In orbit, the Vraxian fleet was in disarray. Admiral Harrison pressed the advantage, pushing them back beyond Mars. Meanwhile, Commander Wright used the precursor device in a way its creators might never have imagined. She connected it to small antimatter charges, which were then teleported directly onto Vraxian command ships. The explosions rippled through the alien fleet, destroying or disabling their largest vessels. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had the upper hand. The Galactic Conclave, watching from afar, saw their cleansing operation falling apart. They sent a diplomatic vessel to negotiate, unwilling to commit more resources to what had become a costly failure. Gregory Walsh, as the recognized leader of humanity, met with them aboard a neutral vessel positioned between Earth and Mars. The mere Conclave representatives, tall, thin beings with translucent skin, seemed shocked by the turn of events. Your species was judged as too dangerous to allow into the galactic community, their speaker said. Yet your resistance has only confirmed your violent nature. Walsh smiled calmly. We did not start this violence. We simply finished it. And, in doing so, we've learned much about your conclave and its history of eliminating threat species across the galaxy. The aliens shifted uncomfortably. This was not public knowledge among many conclave species. We are prepared to offer terms, the speaker said. Containment of human expansion to your home system in exchange for cessation of hostilities. Those terms are unacceptable, Walsh replied. Instead, I am here to deliver Earth's terms to you. He activated a small device showing holographic images of the precursor technology and the modified quantum displacement array. Humanity has joined with other species you have attempted to eliminate. Together, we form the Alliance of Free Species. Any further aggression against member species will result in consequences far worse than what the Vraxians have experienced. To demonstrate, Walsh sent a signal. In the space above Earth, a full-scale quantum displacement array activated. It created a localized time dilation field around the remaining Vraxian fleet. The ships didn't explode or disappear, they simply stopped, frozen in time as effectively as if they had ceased to exist. This is our warning to the galaxy, Walsh said. Attack again and be destroyed. The Conclave representatives had no choice but to accept. Their cleansing fleet was defeated, their secret history exposed, and they faced technology they didn't understand. 1 year later, Captain Peters stood on a terraforming platform above Earth. Below her, green patches were spreading across landscapes once burned by Vraxian weapons. Ships from former threat species arrived regularly now, joining the Alliance and bringing new knowledge and resources. Admiral Wright joined her at the railing. The Conclave is changing, she said. Younger species are questioning the old policies of elimination and control. Some say they might dissolve entirely within a generation. Peters nodded. And what about us? What does humanity do now? We rebuild. We learn. We make sure nothing like this ever happens again. In the rebuilt Appalachian facility, now a center for scientific research, a memorial stood in the entrance hall. On it were carved Dr. Carter's words. We came to the stars hoping for peace. We found war. We leave behind a warning and a promise. And, beneath that in smaller letters, the greatest protection isn't the most powerful weapon, but creating a future where weapons are no longer necessary.